Just put on a Zorro mask and you're good to go.
Why, hi there, I'm Ron.
Is this my cue?
Yes, that was your cue.
I'm Dave.
And welcome to episode number 63 of Digital to Dice. Brad Marchand, Leroy Selman, Gene Upshaw. Pick your poison.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's time for Digital to Dice. And Dave, today we're going to talk about first impressions. You never get the second chance.
We were going to do the Rocky and Bullwinkle when they had the two different titles. I think that's the one.
Second chance to make a first impression, or this game sucks bad.
No, it was either going to be first impressions or love at first sight. So we went with first impressions.
Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about today is basically the first time you played a game. What were your thoughts when you played the game? And we were talking off air about a few games that we've been playing, and sometimes it's real important to have that good experience right off the bat with a game. And as with anything else in life, your first impressions are a big deal when you're going to do something. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, ways to get a hold of us and way to comment, because we're always asking for your feedback and what are your thoughts on this, and what are some of your games that you might have had a good first impression or a bad first impression. First place it goes, digitaltodice.com. That is our website. That's our Spreaker page where we park all the podcasts. You can comment right there on digitaltodice.com. Or probably the best way would be facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice, digital T-O dice. And we have, Ron, 500 plus members now.
We crossed 500 on one of my streams late last week. So
yeah.
505, 506, that's great.
Yeah, so like I said, that's a good place to go and comment on the show is over there on our Facebook group. And if you'd like to send us a text, 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423. And we actually do have a text, Ron. I'm going to read this off to you right now. Coming from the 909 area code. It says, "Good afternoon, Dave. I was wondering what software do you and Ron use to edit your videos? I'm looking at making one, so I'm looking for all the help I can get." Now, I told him, I says, I use Screen Recorder 4, but it really doesn't edit. It just records. Or I use the StreamYard and just do something with that, because I don't like to do a lot of editing because it takes up a lot of processing power and the whole bit. So if you can get away with a one-take video, that's the way to go.
That's how I do it.
But I told him, I think you use, XSplit or OBS or something?
XSplit, and it does have a basic linear editor.
Okay.
So if I'm going blah, 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 or the phone rings or the wife is there, I can cut and basically do a virtual splice. So if there's a gap or something like that is there, I can make it almost seamless. And YouTube actually has a basic editor as well, by the way, after you load something up there. But if you want to get really creative, I wouldn't use it for that. But again, I've become a master of 1960s videotape technology for editing. If I know where the mistake is, I can find it, I can cut it and pretend it never happened. But normally I'm with you. I treat everything live to tape. And if I mess up, or when I'm trying to produce something like a highlight video or something like that, if you have to start and stop over again, or start and stop over again if you forget to pause when you are supposed to be paused and run when you're supposed to run. But
yeah, the thing with editing is if you get a chance to edit videos down, they do look a lot nicer because you can do it any way you want. You can add graphics and sound, and you can really make it quite unbelievable. The problem is the rule of thumb is, for every, minute of video, it's 1 or 2 minutes of editing time. So you're doubling and tripling your time when you're doing this. If you do a live show and it's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes and done. Okay, now it's raw and the whole bit, but if you sit down and take a 20-minute video and you try to edit it and do some creative things and whatever, it's another 20 minutes or so just to do that, and then you need to have the video process on your computer, and that can take 20 minutes to a half hour easy, and then you finally have to go and do the uploading part of it. So
and also if you're inserting graphics or something like that, the baseball playoffs and World Series I did, even the nights where I'm just changing pitchers in the lineup and maybe making one change, it's still 15, 20 minutes of going through slides, making sure that everything's highlighted right, making sure the pictures are kind of all the same size, because that wasn't always the case. And so every production element you add adds an infinite amount of more time for the production. Not saying it's not worth it, but
But that's something to just keep in mind, when you're doing videos. Keep in mind,
the more complex you get, the harder it is, and the more in line you are of making a mistake. And sometimes you catch those mistakes live on the air, such as not having the right game number for a World Series game or something like. I mean, there's small mistakes that irritate only you, the producer, not necessarily a viewer.
A lot of stuff you can get away with, and you know what? Some people just go back and make it like I'll make a note in the description, like, "Hey, I messed up on this part here." So instead of me editing it out or going back and reshooting it, sometimes it's easy. Just put it up and acknowledge the mistake and just get on with life.
There are professional editors. If you use a Mac, I believe there's Mac Movie Maker or something like that in there. The learning curve on these things is difficult. And so as I said, my general rule of thumb is live to tape. And if I mess up, we do it all again, because I don't want to go back and fix a lot of things. So play around with the YouTube video editor. If you can get the hang of that, then you should be able to get the hang of that. But I use XSplit. It's a very good linear editor, which means essentially that the order that you watch is the order that's edited. So if I mess up, I can cut a piece out and splice it together, but that would be very difficult to splice different scenes if you're shooting out a sequence. You can do it. It just takes a lot of work.
I did a football video where I recapped the game, and I tried to make it like an ESPN football recap, okay? And it was 3-4 minutes long, not a long video at all. And I went into YouTube and it says, how cool would it be to put some of the YouTube music in this, right? So I went into the YouTube music. I found some music that I liked, that I thought it would be, a nice upbeat, background music to a football highlight show. Hey, now here's third down. Let me show you what happened here, that type of thing. And like din, 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 in the background, And I found some music that they had that was royalty free, that was good to use on YouTube. And I went to put it in there, but you couldn't do any preview. And I didn't know how loud it was going to be. So I took the volume and I dropped it like down to 10%, hoping that would be right. And then I said, okay, add the music. It took, I want to say 14 or 15 hours to process that on YouTube for a 3-minute video. This was not a long video at all. This was just 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 tops. And I added the music, and it was 14 hours it took. And then
wow.
And then finally, when it finally came up, the music was too loud. So I ended up just deleting the video and put it up without the music.
You'd think Google would not be using Commodore VIC-20s in 2020 to process.
You just wonder. I mean, it was a 3-minute video just to add music. You think they could pop that on there? It's royalty free. What's the deal?
It depends on what the usage load is and all that. I uploaded a video last night, and it took 3 hours to upload. The process is pretty quick. Now, when I send things over from Twitch to YouTube, it takes forever. But I always set those to private because I have to wait 24 hours after I'm done off the air on Twitch before they can go on YouTube. The other note, speaking of video things, before we get into what we're playing, is that all of us who stream on Twitch got a nice note from them regarding music.
I got that. I tried to read it.
Don't do it. Do not do it.
Oh, really? I couldn't follow it. So don't play music anymore?
Essentially what it was, because there's a lot of streamers, especially the live streamers, those who do 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. They may be between different things, and so they'll go and play good music, play music.
Yep.
And so it's just to break things up while they go to the bathroom or whatever, and Twitch doesn't really have any control of what you do live, okay? And they only keep things for most people for only 2 weeks anyway. But there are a lot more claiming bots out there than there were before, and Twitch doesn't know how to handle them all. And so the directive came down because I was doing this at the beginning of the pandemic, playing music at night and doing things. Again, you're trying to relax people with that. Don't do it. And so if you're listening and you produce stuff for YouTube and you put music in your videos, don't do.
Oh, you mean Twitch? Twitch and YouTube.
Both.
Yeah.
Because if Twitch is handling that, I still never heard from the appeal I had from a YouTube video that they took down. Doesn't really matter. It was from 2.5 years ago and it wasn't a game video. But so just err on the side of caution. And so that was pretty much a very polite way of Twitch telling you your videos are going to get claimed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's easier to make money on Twitch than it is YouTube, you certainly don't want whatever earnings you're getting on Twitch to go pay for that 30 seconds of Van Halen you might have used as opposed to in your pocket.
And I still don't get that.
Stupid.
I don't want to. I just the idea that you stream for an hour and let's just say you put in a 10-second clip of somebody. That 10 seconds, they get the whole hour. At least that's how it works with YouTube, or at least half of it. People didn't come here to hear 10 seconds of Van Halen. That's not why they're here. So why should you get 10 and what if you put 3 clips up, Van Halen and Bon Jovi and whoever, Metallica. So now the 3 of them all get a piece of that. Now it's like it is so litigious. It is so micromanaged. It makes no sense.
If you go and play, let's say, a video game and there's music in the video game. I remember when one of the last versions of NBA Live I bought, 2004, 2005, had a hell of a soundtrack in it. But that would all get claimed. I'm sure it would.
That happened to me. I was doing one. Actually, it was I forget which game it was. It was an older game, and I was streaming it and playing it, and it gets claimed. You don't get in trouble for it because it is in a video game, But yeah, if that music comes up in there, then you can't do anything with it. So the best rule of thumb is no music, or make sure it's royalty free music, or that you have absolutely written consent permission, like we do here on the show, to use a particular song.
Right.
And still then you're not guaranteed anything. It
depends. I know I talked about this before in other things, but I had a font claimed years ago because I used the letter T in a default Microsoft font. The color scheme matched the algorithm for some Japanese trademark. Now I got it cleared up in 15, 20 minutes, but remember, it's computers that are making these. There aren't people sitting there going, okay, that's fair use. Okay, that's not. It's going, flag.
This show is brought to you by the letter T. Oh, wait, no, it's not. No, it's not, because the letter Mr. T's been copyrighted. So T has been copyrighted. You can't use T anymore. So it's going to have to be RS that sponsors the show from now on. So Anyway, getting back to some others. Yeah. So, but we know a lot of people that listen to us do some streaming. Their own. So just be careful that even if you take your cell phone and you put it up next to the microphone and you want a nice little introduction, you might get in trouble for that. It's just don't do any music at all. It's really, and even if it's in the game, you might want to take it out.
Be very careful in the game.
National anthems and stuff like that.
It's kind of hard to claim the national anthem,
but somebody will.
Especially if someone plays the Whitney Houston version from Super Bowl 25, that would get claimed instantly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
So, moving right along with some things. Let's fire it up and get into Aunt Becky and what we're playing.
I don't want to get into Aunt Becky. That's your job.
You got nothing for us? Any Happy Days, Brady Bunch, anything?
Oh, Marcia. Just keep your donations close to home, okay? Don't write checks your college can't cash.
I saw Greg smoking a cigarette. That was my favorite one. Oh, man. Oh, that was great. Anyway, getting on to some what we're playing here. Hey, so I'm back into my hockey phase, big time hockey phase, okay? Playing some Strat and a few things like that.
The pineapple pizza, playing hockey.
Yeah. I finally secured.
He's intolerable, folks. He's insatiable and intolerable.
I finally secured my personal.
You secured
my personal holy grail of Strat seasons.
Okay.
Somebody had it for sale on one of the Strat Facebook groups. Somebody I never heard of before, and he said he's just selling some. I think he had hockey, basketball. I don't. He probably had some baseball too, but he had the original 6 teams in this set. Very reasonable, very reasonable. And so I jumped right all over that. I caught it by accident, and I sent him a message, and he says, "Yep." And I PayPal'd him immediately. And a couple of days later, I think that was like on a Friday or Saturday, and Monday he said it shipped out, and I got it here on Wednesday, I believe it was, or Thursday. And they're in immaculate shape. They're unbelievable. The 6 teams. And so a shout out to Mike Vandergore, I think is his name, Mike Vandergore, or Gore, on the Stratomatic Clearinghouse Facebook group. So I told him I'd shout him out on the show because,
nice.
and I did on the group too, because when you have a good transaction, you want to let everybody know that this guy's not a thief, And so I got the teams. I was all excited, and it was one of the listeners. I don't know if it was a listener of the show or if it was one of the listeners on YouTube. My Dave Gardner videos on YouTube contacted me and said, "Hey, they don't sell anymore the extra teams, but I have them if you want them." And I was like, "That'd be amazing because this is my holy grail season, and now I have it complete." And
right.
again, it's nothing that I can buy. I can't buy it anymore. So this you have to go and buy it from someone who has it. So, so I'm pretty excited that I have that season now, and I can start playing one of my favorite old seasons. And, so I'm playing some Strat hockey, obviously, and I picked up some more cards with that. I'm into my Hockey Blast mode now. That game, and we'll get
about that a little bit too.
When we get into the first impressions, we'll talk a little bit about Hockey Blast. So I picked up a couple of seasons. I picked up 72-73 WHA. And I picked up 92-93 NHL. And then on their website, they have some freebies there. So I printed out the 87 Canada Cup and also the 79-80 Super Series, the Moscow Dynamo, or whatever it was, and then the Central Red Army, those 2 teams. I printed those out because those work with the 79-80 season of Hockey Blast, if you remember, and that memorable New Year's Eve game at the Montreal Forum. So I think I can replay that using Hockey Blast. So I have a bunch of seasons now in Hockey Blast. I'm enjoying that. I'm finally getting that game to flow for me. It's making more sense every time I play it. So real excited about that, and to play some of these oddball things. They had the Summit Series cards that I played quite a bit, and that was really fun. So now I have Canada Cup and the Super Series and WHA and a whole bit. In fact, I played opening night.
Curious for you to play the 2 Soviet teams against each other.
I guess you could do that, but the idea was that they played NHL
right,
teams.
As a supplement to play whoever, but it'd be kind of because so little information exists about those teams stat-wise to see how well they would play against. Most of them played against the U.S. Americans that February.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting idea, is to have that team play against each other and see. Yeah. So I did play opening night of the WHA using that 72-73 set. It was Quebec taking on Cleveland. Was it Quebec Nordiques taking on Cleveland Crusaders, and it was Jerry Cheevers in net for the Crusaders, and I believe it was an 8-1 win for Cleveland. They really 8-1 or 8-2. Yeah, it was a fun game. That game is really making more sense, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into our main topic. But there was a point with that game where I didn't think anybody aside from the first line could score a goal, and I'm getting third line goals now and defenseman goals, and it was a really fun game I played last night. So Cheevers picked up the win on that. Playing a little bit more Strat PC hockey, my 90-91 Boston Bruins season. Playing that one there. I think I'm already into November now. And I'm playing most of the games. There's a couple times I was playing the other night, and I got really tired. And I just didn't want to save the game, and I think I was just in a bad mood, and the game wasn't that fun. So I played the first period, just skipped to the end. I think we even won the game as Boston. But I just wasn't feeling the game. So I was like, just finish it, and I'll come back and play a new game tomorrow. Yeah. So that's kind of a long-term project for me that I'm doing. And also, getting back to the Hockey Blast real quick, if anybody knows out there, hint, hint, P-Jet, can you play teams from different seasons? So could I play like the 74 Bruins against the 84 Bruins?
I don't see why not.
Well, the problem is that there's some, I forget what game it was. I don't know if it was Downey games or shootout hockey. There was a couple of games I played that say if you're going to play other decades or other seasons, here is the there's like an adjustment. So it'll be like an
adjustment.
Yeah. So this particular season is adjustment 4, and if you're playing whatever season, that's adjustment 6. So it'd be it's some kind of adjustment of 2, whatever that was for offense or defense or scoring or whatever it was. So it did, because the season lines up, but 2 seasons that are far apart, they're done differently or whatever. So I don't know if there's any adjustments I need to make in Hockey Blast, because I think it'd be fun to play some of these WHA teams against NHL teams and the whole bit. But there's no sense doing it if one team is ridiculously stacked with stats.
I'm not sure how those two leagues compare. I know if you do AFL versus NFL Raw, that the AFL teams tend to do better when they shouldn't, especially early on.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at, is the AFL teams were rated against the AFL teams, which were the weaker teams. Just call it what they were, the weaker teams. So if you're rated as an 8 against AFL teams, well, you're not going to be rated as an 8 if you played NFL teams. So it gives you a skewed outcome of the game or a skewed matchup. So that's what I was wondering, is that, is there a way to adjust? And I heard that might be a small goalie adjustment that you might bump up a little bit if you played, or bump down depending on what the deal was. So if anybody knows about that, because I heard that there was a chart with the seasons and the different things that you might need to adjust to make it a fair game, so to speak. Again, because if you put a team from today against a team from 30 years ago, just with the equipment and the whole bit and the training and the whole bit, I would think any team from today would beat a team from back then. I just think that the bigger, better athletes, they're not part-time athletes that used to smoke cigarettes between periods. They're finely tuned machines, so to speak. That's just my gut feeling. So if anybody knows about that, let me know. But that's about what I've been playing. I'm playing a lot of tabletop stuff, and then at night I come down here and settle with my Strat PC hockey. So, but you've been doing a ton of things, right?
Well, we got the soccer and the hockey. That was the first match day, or the first round of group games of my 2010 World Cup. Do not watch Italy Paraguay if you're an Italian fan. That is Patty and Selma Bouvier ugly. I mean, that really was just horrible. Montreal seasons in hockey is going along quite well. The 88-89 Canadiens playing better than we are in real life. We did, but had a good game last Sunday against the Bruins, which I don't want to talk about beyond that. But
I resubbed, so you know how it went.
Yeah. So those are fun. I'm not playing any baseball right now. Want to give a thanks to Dave Cook. The unboxing video I did for the basketball game got mentioned in an email in the most recent basketball sale.
Yeah,
thank you.
Good for you. Yeah, cool. I saw that. Yeah, it was kind of tucked in there at the end of all the specials. It's like, here's a first look at the new basketball game. Good for you.
Yeah. So Dave unsubbed 3 times for that out of jealousy, and no, I mean, I sat there and read the quotes that were with it for other people thought and never looked down, and about 3 hours later, and someone said, Ron, your video is in that email. Like, what? Tells you just how observant I am.
I didn't pick up on it either till somebody pointed it out. It was just kind of where it was kind of weird, but it's there.
Yeah, and it was nice. It was at the good quotes from DG from Mass and all that. No, you weren't quoted, Dave. The quotes of what people thought of the game, and by the way, here's his video. Like,
yeah,
that's special. And I did a preview video for Thoroughbred Horse Racing. If you're a sub of Al Red Sox fans channel, he did the 3 Mile Uncle Ron Classic on last Saturday night.
It was a 6-hour horse race.
The horses went on strike after the first mile.
They were tagging off. It was like a relay race of horses.
That's right. And so I did to look for a video on that. And of course, the game crashed in the middle of the Dave Gardner Mile. But anyway,
See, the Dave Gardner Mile, that race, it's not going to allow you to cheat. So it's an honest race. So obviously you found something wrong and said, nope, we're going to shut it down. Just saying.
Wow. You'll be here all the week, folks. Please try the veal. Tip your waitress kindly. So don't let that mistake fool you. We'll update that once we get it. Once I get it working. I like the game. It's one of those things that if you're not a real fan of the sport, it's not going to mean a lot to you. But I like the strategy. I like the fact that you can actually bet in the games, and they give you 5,000 fake dollars to lose, and you can reset it anytime.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun.
And so you can play around to your heart's content. The game ships with the Breeders' Cup horses from 2019 and the first half of the 2020 season. So the Triple Crown challengers, if you will. And there's a whole bunch of seasons and best of and all that. So hopefully they'll get that figured out. And maybe the next time I run the Dave Gardner Mile, it won't crash and it looks like the girl's going to win.
I'll give you $5. $5 if you guess the last horse racing game that I played before this, because I did try the demo out.
Was it in an arcade?
I'm not going to give you any hints. It's if you can guess the last horse racing game that I played.
Wow. Okay, leave it in the comments because I'm trying to think of what you might have played.
You get 3 seconds and the $5 expires.
I'm going to say horse racing for either the Atari 2600 or the Intellivision.
I owe you $5. Exactly right. Horse racing for Intellivision. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I will send you $5 by PayPal. Yep. Nice job. It was horse racing by Intellivision. That's the last one, and you could bet on that, and you could race the horse, and we didn't know what we were doing, and it was Intellivision horse racing. You know, it was okay, I guess, but yeah, that's the last time I played a horse racing game.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you a penny a day for 500 days. That'll get you up to $5.
Yeah, and that'll cost you $50 to do in PayPal fees. So you go right ahead and do that. So that's pretty much what I've been playing.
Nice. Nice. I had a funny comment on one of my videos before we get to the main topic here. I have that. What was it called? It was just called football or pro football. No, it wasn't even pro football. It was just a football game. Remember the football game? It was 1941 or 1940.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of it.
College varsity or something like that. Varsity Gridiron or something like that.
Yeah, boy.
Football, Gridiron Football.
It was some football game I did, and I got it at an old gaming store.
You had to roll the 7 to convert a field goal. If I remember.
Yeah. It was based off of 1940s football, and it was college, I believe it was. It basically came with a wooden die. Or 2 wooden dies. I forget what it was. Maybe 1. And you said, okay, I'm going to run or pass, whatever it was. You rolled the dice and just looked at the chart and it tell you it was a very, very basic game. And again, you're talking about something that's, 80 years old right now?
80 years old.
It's 80 years old, yeah. And it was all complete, and I played it and I did a video on it on my channel is what I'm getting at. Somebody made a comment the other day, and it was hilarious. I just got the notification. He says, imagine being that 10-year-old kid in 1940 and getting this for Christmas morning.
I'm thrilled.
I mean, imagine being that kid. We look at it now, we laugh. It's a wooden die. There's 1 chart. There's not a lot to it. Again, to get a field goal or an extra point, you had to roll maybe it was a 7. I don't know if there was 1 or 2 dice in that, but
it was 2 die.
But it was ridiculous. I mean, even extra points, it was like a 50-50 chance at an extra point. And boy, yeah, imagine being that 10-year-old kid opening this on Christmas Day in 1940. And I got a chuckle out of that comment. That was really funny.
Yeah,
it really was. Because it was probably a big deal. It was probably a big deal in 1940.
There were games like that.
You sit there rolling that wooden die all day and just having your fun with that game.
At least it wasn't the spinner, because there were some games that you would spinner, and if you played against your brother or something like that, and the spinner landed on the line, you had to figure those cost some fights.
Yeah, they did, and the spinners would always stop working too. So, but anyways, all right. So let's get to the topic at hand. Okay, so first impressions, love at first sight, whatever you want to call it here. So when you first fire up a game, brand new game, no matter what it is, and you're playing this game, and then you find that you either love it or you hate it. Maybe you just can't grasp the game. Maybe you do grasp the game. Maybe something about it is just not fun. But when you walk away from the table or the computer, whatever you're playing at that particular time, that first impression is a big deal when it comes to that game. And as we talked before, it's a big deal with everything in life. From people you meet to maybe your first day on a job or
right.
Anything like that. So you buy this thing and your first impression is a big deal. And Ron, I'll let you start with this. So what has been some of your experiences and how big of a deal is that first 5, 10, 20 minutes of a game?
Oh gosh, the first impression game I would say would be Strat. I played other games. Micro League was quite cool, and Championship Baseball was technically the first card and dice game I played back in 1983. But Strat, opening up Strat Baseball, I bought it at KB Toys on coming back from Christmas, October break, Thanksgiving break, one of those breaks from school, and looking at the cards and playing it and being this it was a game that's played by people of all ages, but was easy enough for a dumb college kid like me to figure out. And so you could just kind of see that you rolled this and that happened and your favorite player. So you could know, probably wasn't I think Jim Rice was done at that point, but Kirby Puckett, and looked where the base hits were on his card. And it just kind of flowed very easily. And you could see how the pitchers interacted with it and how the hitters interacted with it and how basic the fielding was. And again, we talk a lot about flow and feel on this show. But my first impression was this felt like baseball. This felt like the baseball that we sat there and watched on television. And it all kind of came to life for us. And again, the whole concept of card and dice gaming outside of Risk and Sorry and Monopoly was a new concept that we could actually do this. So that's the positive one. And about 6 months later, somebody showed me APA. And then we can kind of segue into Hockey Blast for you because we're both gonna have the same story here. And I looked at APA and I looked at the cards. The dice rolls are in black and the play result numbers are in red. And I just had a hard time in my head without understanding what a 35 roll it was on a 6-5. What the hell is that? That doesn't tell me anything. Well, you got to go to the chart and figure this out. Really? No, I want to be told what it is. I love that first interaction back. I'm not going for validity of engines or anything like that. Don't write in about this, okay? But just that I don't get it. Flash forward about 25 years later, 22, 23 years later. And I sit down again with, yes, Monty, die number 3. Sat down with it and sat down with the boards and taught myself how to play the basic game. Went, oh, okay. I like it. I get it. It plays fast. Again, we're not going on the warts or anything like that there. But I guess because I was introduced to Strat first, I really wasn't probably open-minded for what Apple was and vice versa. And once I got it to click in my head how it was supposed to work, I found what can be, on the surface, a simple engine can be quite complex.
And okay, so let's talk about that for 1 second.
So talk about Hockey Blast because I know.
Well, no, let's talk about what you did there. So you played Strat first, and this is one thing we always talked about here on the show, especially with me because I'm a newer cards and dice player. It's really only been a couple years maybe that I've. Yeah. I mean, I've played a little bit in the past, but seriously, the last just couple of years. Okay, and we talked about how I started off with Strat hockey. And I had a really good experience with Strat Hockey. My first game was unbelievable, Strat Hockey, and I'll never forget it. And so I had a really good first impression. But that aside, how Strat played, okay, now that I'm playing that, so that was my first experience. So I was used to that engine, let's call it the engine, yes, how it played.
Absolutely.
So do you think that comes into play? Because you played Strat, and you liked it, and then you went to APA, which was, I don't want to say very different, but it was different. It was not Strat. It was a different way to play than Strat. It'd
be like going from having a place that served hamburgers and hot dogs, and you always, like Five Guys, you always get the hamburger, or I always get the hamburger at Five Guys. And like going in and going, I'm getting the kosher, the Hebrew National today. I'm getting the hot dog. we'll just make it as simple as that. I don't need to get all flame for saying that, but yes, it's going to the restaurant and getting the other, the manicotti instead of the pizza.
Yeah, so it's just so you're used to one way of playing, and then you try something that's really different. Like the Apple and the Android thing. It's like you're used to one way, and then someone says, "Oh, that sucks. I like this," and you take their phone or and you're like, "Man, I can't do anything with this." And it's almost like even like a Mac and a PC. I know that they've gotten a lot closer over the years, but I remember 10, 15, 20 years ago, I was working at a place and I went upstairs and the lady's like, "Oh, the graphic person's out. I just need to do a couple things. Can you help me?" And I went in there. It was a Mac. And I was like, there's only one button. I'm used to 2 buttons on my mouse. All you got to do is this. I couldn't figure it out. It was just completely different, and they swear by it. But for me, my first impression on the Mac is I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I was not really cool with that. Later on, I learned a little bit more, and it's okay, whatever. But again, but this graphic artist was used to Mac. I was used to PC, and it's the same nowadays. You got Android and Apple. So
talking about my office in the 90s, yes.
But I'm saying that you're used to one thing. So you played the Strat, and you're like, this feels like ball, and this and that, and then you play Apple, and it was so different. So your first impression, and we talked about this with me, is that I grew up. I know it's only been a couple years, but I grew up with the Strat way.
Right.
And now when I play a game that's different than that, I have a hard time with it because it's so foreign.
The mouse story is appropriate because people who use Macs swear by them, and the rest of us use Windows. And there's the Linux users going, "Ha ha ha, suckers!" But again, once I sat and taught myself the game, I figured out, okay, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you have to realize that this is not Strat.
But again, it's going to the hamburger place and getting the McChicken instead of the quarter pounder.
Yeah, don't expect a hamburger if you order a chicken. You know what I mean?
Or don't grab the Sprite out of the fridge thinking you got the Coke. You open it up and you take a sip and go, "That's the funniest tasting Coke I've ever had." And you it's the green bottle.
So do you think that what we do is that when we play a game that we like, no matter what it is, and maybe it's the other way. Maybe you played Apple first and you loved Apple.
I'm sure it'd be the other way. I'm sure it would be. Absolutely be the other way.
So you play a game A, whatever game A is, and like I said, we're not comparing good versus bad. We're just talking about first impressions.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So you play game A, and you like the way game A plays, and then someone shows you game B, but you're so in tune with how game A plays that it's like, boy, I don't like this because it doesn't play like this game that I like. And I'm having a hard time figuring out or whatever it is. And so I think sometimes your first impressions is that you play a game, you're used to that game, and you kind of compare the next game or all other games to that first way that you played that you like.
And what you like. Because if you don't like it, let's say, I'm trying to think of a game, Strat Football. I'll talk about that. This is the old version of Strat Football. I had a computer football game, NFL Pro Football. They still make people have kept that game alive. And so, a football sim, the engine wasn't open. I think it was Action PC before Action PC. It actually predates Action PC. And so you would type in your number combination, let's say a pass. So a 2 would be a pass. A number between 1 and 5 would be the receiver. And then the third number would be a number between 1 and 10 or 1 through 0 on the type of pass you wanted to run. And so it was very easy, and you could play one team and call the defenses, and it played very well. And then you play Strat Football, and you go, okay, so you're excited because you like the other games from that company, and you get to it, and then you get on defense, and you're either playing against the run or the pass. And so, well, that gets kind of old kind of fast now, doesn't it? Doesn't mean it's a bad game, but they must not have liked it because they reconfigured it, after that. But one of those things that you're right. You're used to playing a certain way, and then you're going like, this is kind of clunky.
Yeah. And so I guess we could segue that into Hockey Blast. And another thing about first impressions is sometimes you play a game and it clicks right off the bat. And so, again, me playing the Strat hockey, I had nothing else to compare it to. So I learned that way, and I was happy with that. And, so that was kind of fun. Now, go to a game like Hockey Blast. Before I get to hockey, but there's a couple of other games, mostly quick play games that I played. Mm-hmm. And some I picked right up on. And they were fun. It's fairly simple. It's a quick play. You roll the dice. You get your ratings, and then you have the final score. And there was a couple of quick play games that, boy, I really, really just didn't follow it. And then the results I got, I didn't think the results were very accurate. Maybe it's just my own personal bias. I was like, well, how is this team losing? And how is this team winning? And why is this player so bad, or whatever it was? And so the other first impression sometimes you have is that maybe you couldn't figure out the game, or it made no sense, or you just stumbled your way through it, or maybe you got some results were like, wow. Every other game I played with these two teams, this team won, and now this team wins.
Steelers beat Gretzky's Oilers 17-4.
Yeah. So it's like, what's up with that? Or maybe it's just you have you don't have a good first impression with the game, and there's been a couple of games that I struggle with. Yeah. And I was like, something? I have so many other games like this that I don't struggle with. I'm going to put this away for a while and just maybe I never come back to it because I just struggled with it. And sometimes, we've sat here on the computer and I'm like, I'm not getting, and you got it and I didn't. And I was just like, it's just something with this game that I'm not understanding. And so I'm frustrated. My first impression is I don't get it. I'm frustrated. I don't want to do this. Okay. So that's the other thing. But Hockey Blast was kind of something where I stumbled with this game quite a bit, and we've talked about Hockey Blast on the show quite a bit. But there was always something about this game that I never put it away. And I've talked to you about this personally, and I think on the show too, that Hockey Blast never went into the draw. Hockey Blast was always, on my stack of games that I have over there with the board games, that was still in the stacks. That meant it was still alive and breathing. It's just, I was playing other things. And I would go back to it, and sometimes I'd have a good experience, and sometimes I wouldn't. And then I put it away again. But I never put it in the round file, so to speak, okay? That game, there was always a glimmer of hope with that game because I did some really good things. But I stumbled my way through it, and I kept getting stuck. And it just seemed like the more I played that game and I plowed through it, it started to make more sense. And so that's one of these games where my first impression of Hockey Blast was it's okay, but I'm having a lot of problems figuring it out. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm used to the Strat hockey way of playing, or maybe I'm used to quick play hockey, and this is somewhere in the middle. So I had a real hard time with this, and I couldn't figure out how anybody on the third line was ever going to score a goal because they didn't have the right symbol or whatever. And I just played it more and more, and then every time I played it, it got a little smoother, and it flowed a little bit more. Either that, or maybe I'm just not rolling. When you played the first couple of games I played, I rolled a lot of penalties, and I got really confused on doling out penalties. I just did. I just, like I say, knew. So my first impression was, wow, there's fun to be had here. I just need to sort it out. And I think at this point now, I've kind of sorted out most of that game because I can pretty much get through a game now with limited times digging through the manual. There's still sometimes I go through and I want to just confirm something, But there's times I'm just not sure what to do. Like when this happens, okay, does this happen or does this happen? But those bumps in the road are starting to smooth out. So Hockey Blast, one of these games I saw some promise in. Okay, they have a lot of seasons that I like, so that's another big thing about the game. So I kind of stuck with it, but my first impressions of Hockey Blast was, it's fine. I'm having problems with it, but it's not one of these games that I'm going to give up on.
Right.
And so I've stuck it out, and I keep going back to it, and now I got it moving again. I got it flowing. So that one's kind of come back for me in a big way, is the Hockey Blast. But
you're really got some seasons really enjoying.
But there was something there in my first impression with Hockey Blast that said, "Don't give up on me."
I'll tell you about my first experience with the Action PC products.
Okay.
So I've never told the stories before. Bought the baseball game 14, 15 years ago. It played OTP. I'm not going to get into that. So this is, Action PC, more the baseball game, more of a replay game than OOTP's create your own universe type deal. And so the replay games I'd played before, Strat, basically Strat. And so you're used to the results being on the screen. And so I bought the deluxe package. Didn't tell my wife I was buying the deluxe package. There was no upgrade for the deluxe package because I hadn't bought before. And I forget what season it was that came with I might have actually snuck a season in there. Shh, don't tell anybody. And so it was like $60 when we didn't really have the $60 to spend. And so I'm
that's
kind
a
of
lot
going,
for that. Yeah, that's a lot for that.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of going, please don't find out. Please. I don't think they were even doing PayPal then. Bought it, installed it. The interface, Dave, really hasn't changed in all these years. And so you're trying to figure it out. And there's that first version I bought did not have the full picture on screen. So it had the lineups in the corners and there was no chalkboard and you had to, and it was intimidating to try to figure this out. I got it figured out. I played it. I was okay. The beeping was on my end, by the way, if that's what you heard.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if I had something on fire over here.
No.
So if you're on fire, that's okay. I'm safe.
You're insatiable,
Is your microwave pineapple pizza done? Is that what it is?
Oh. That might be the only thing worse than regular microwaved pineapple pizza. Anyway, to get back to it, it wasn't the most visually pleasing game. I, was kind of knew enough about baseball sims that one or two games wasn't going to be able to tell you the story of whether or not the game was going to work for me or not. It was all keyboard or easy mouse driven, so that was okay. I'd played another strategic baseball simulator. That was a closed engine too. But playing a serious replay game with a closed engine really just kind of threw me for a loop, and I didn't buy the next couple. I tried the football game because I'd played Second and 10. Second and 10's been out 20 years or so. And so I did a demo for the football game and hated it. Absolutely hated it. It was just...
Really?
Well, what's the difference? Because in second, it's going back to the Strat versus Appa thing for me 30 years ago. I'm used to a football game that doesn't give you a lot of options for plays. You can run it. You can short pass, medium short, long, whatever. Here you had all these pass patterns to all these wide receivers and the defense calls, which I've never been very good at, and trying to figure, like, how in the hell is this supposed to be fun? It was just too much to go, what's the difference between running an off tackle and a trap?
Right, yeah.
But again, kind of persistence in playing the game and reading, all these people who I trust reading these message boards love this game. Let me give it another run through. Okay, I get it now. And so it took a while. The baseball game, once I got it the second time, I've bought it every year since. So I'm guessing I probably own.
But so you kind of stuck with that one.
But I kind of like with the Hockey Blast, it was a stick with it. You can go through and read people's results and know that it's going to be, that you're going to get what you want once you take the time to teach yourself what it is. Now, there are games I'm not going to talk about by name that I've played that I've, first impression was meh. Give the developer the money, play the game, and that first impression is right. It's meh.
Yeah, there's been a couple.
Meh for me is going to be other people love. But yeah. So
there's a couple that I bought, and I read the directions, and it was just, I went through the directions a couple times, and my head hurt, and I just was like, I just don't know how the heck I'm going to play this and enjoy this game. This is something maybe I'll pick up at some point but it was way too much.
Other thing is that because you think that we are kind of fussy for the ideal baseball or football game or hockey game. The basketball pickings have been few and far between over the years.
Well, I was just going to mention that. Conversely, that regular season basketball game that I found back in the spring of this year, immediately I jumped all over that game.
For you. It was absolutely perfect.
That game come out of nowhere. I found it. I did the demo.
Yet, by the way, but it is perfect.
It just was. The website was a very basic website, but it ran you through how the game played. It showed you basic mode. It showed you advanced mode. It allowed you to add as many stats into the game as you wanted to. You could do full stats for a complete game, or I just do points, really. I don't even do assists. I just do points. But sometimes I just do final score. But they laid it out on the website. So when I got done reading the even like the couple of paragraphs that showed you how to play, when I finally printed it out and put it on the table, I knew how to play it. Seriously, I don't even think I ever went back to the directions. They did such a good job laying this game out. It was not a super complex game, but it was fun. And it felt like a basketball game. And so that's one of those games that, like, boom, bam, right off the bat, first impressions, 2 thumbs up. I told everybody about it, and people went and found this game that no one really knew about, at least, not many people did. And, congrats to the people that made that game there, because that's a fantastic game, and now people know about it. So that was the first impression. That was fantastic. I was like, man, yes. I still play that game from time to time offline. I love that game. It is just, it checks all the boxes. I did a review on it on my channel, the YouTube channel, about that game. It's just so fun. So a game like that, it checked all the boxes. First impressions was great. And I'll love that game forever. You know what I mean? Every time I go back to it, I will enjoy that game. Game-winning drive by Downey Games is another one. My first impression was like, wow, this is a fun game. Once I figured out how to, set up the, you compare the offense to the defense, and you get the, 11 to 22 is a touchdown, and, whatever. Once you figured out all that stuff there, the game played great, and there was a small learning curve. So that's another game that right off the bat I really liked. But there's a couple other Downey games that I played that I struggle mightily with, and they're not much different than some of the games I played, but it's just enough to trip me up. And my first impression on some of these games were, I won't be back. I've tried and I tried and I tried, and just, it didn't have the spark. Like you, I had the spark with Hockey Blast, and you had the spark with the Action PC game. This didn't have the spark. It was just, this is what the game is. I don't think it's going to get any better. It's just bogging down. It just doesn't move well for me. It's just not my thing. Like you said, there's other people that love this particular game or games. It just wasn't for me. I just was like, no.
And not every game is going to be for everybody.
But my first impression was not good. It was not a good first impression.
And that's, I'm trying to think of if there's anything else besides Strat that I had immediate fall in love with.
For me, shootout hockey, as you know, I like that one. Now, I struggled a bit with that. You actually kind of walked me through that a little bit, but that's the first game I played after Strat, I think. So again, I was coming off of Strat, trying to learn how to play a quicker play game, and once that fell into line, that's another one that just, boy, that's really a fun game for me. It's a really fun game for me.
ASG Golf, because I think that that's one of those situations. It's kind of like the 10-year-old at Christmas, and I think George and Marianne released it right around Christmas. It was a lot of money. So most I'd ever spent. I've got the intro special. And so there were 7 sets of decade cards. So like 450 golfers. And you got 2 courses. So I think the game itself came with Sawgrass, TPC, Players Championship. And I think I bought Augusta to go with it, because everybody knows Augusta.
Right.
Yeah. Where do they play the Byron Nelson? I don't think it's even at Las Colinas anymore, but can you describe a hole from there? Oh, there's 18. It's a golf tournament, right? Everybody, it's Masters weekend, as a matter of fact. Everybody knows the back 9 on Sunday at Augusta National.
Yeah, that's the one in California, right? Everyone knows that.
Jesus.
What?
Tease 'em crow. That's Pebble Beach, yeah, poopy head.
I get, they're all the same.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, and so I bit hook, line, and sinker. I got the intro special. I think if I had bought everything individual, it'd been like $250. I spent $198 on it. Got permission from the wife for that one because that would be kind of obvious. What did you spend $200 on? Something for you.
It's a deluxe package.
Deluxe package. It's insatiable, Sarah. It's insatiable.
It is.
And so finally getting to play, like I said, the 10-year-old at Christmas that gets the Atari or the Nintendo or whatever, and you put in Super Mario Brothers or Sonic the Hedgehog to get into it. And oh yeah, figured it out easily. Loved it. You make mistakes, obviously, but that was one of those ones that was like, yep, this is going to be worth it.
I got a couple of computer games like that too, where I put it in and just went, oh yeah, this is going to be great, and it just, okay, I got to figure out how to learn, I got to learn more about how to play it. But right off the bat, if I can play a game like right out of the gate, I can at least get through it and it's flowing. Yes. Then okay, I'll smooth out the edges later. But sometimes if you can't get out of the starting gate, and there was a football game on the computer that I could not figure out what to press, what to do, and you kind of walked me through it, and I was like, wow, why would they do it like this? This makes no sense. This is just not fun for me. And so for me, my first impression was I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get off the opening screen, and then secondly, when I did have somebody hold my hand and walk me through it, I think
it wasn't fun for you.
It wasn't fun for me. And my first impression is that, man, if I can't figure this out, if I can't figure out at least how to get the screen to move to the next screen or to do whatever, this is not a good sign that I'm fighting the game right off the bat. And then when you walk me through some of it, I just kind of had my fist on my cheek saying, wow, I just don't see it. I don't see what the fun is in this game. And so I won't mention the game, but it's one that I never went back to. I just was like, no, it just, my first impression of that game was not happy with it. Didn't really enjoy it, and when I finally learned how to play it, just it just nope, not for me. So, any final thoughts before we wrap this up here?
No, and so the other thing is, if you just don't like the game on the first impression, you're probably really just are never going to like the game. But as with anything else, maybe a couple of years will make a difference. Or in the case of like Dave, where I want to like this game. I read too many people who like this game for me to feel this way. Sometimes first impressions are wrong.
But there's been a couple of games, and this has happened to quite a few games that I've played one out of the gate. Not sure. I walk away with I'm just not sure. The jury's out, and I've gone back and kicked it around, maybe watched some more videos and played it again. I was like, okay, I get it. Yep, this is fun. This is really good. I really like this. And there's others that I had that same jury's out attitude with my first impression I went back to, and I still just can't get it to work for me. And so my first impression was like I say, it was gray area. This is in the gray area. Like I say, maybe I'll go back and maybe I'll find the spark with this game, and I didn't. So sometimes you get a great first impression, and that's it. The game's great. Sometimes you get a bad first impression, and it's never going to be fun for you. And then sometimes you get that gray area where you can, massage the kinks out of the game and have it work for you. And there's other times it's just, this is just...
you trust your gut.
Trust my gut. Yep. And again, Hockey Blast is one of those really rare things that, I kept going back and fighting that game, but I kept going back. And I remember telling you, it's like, this game is bugging me, but I keep going back to it. I do. Something keeps calling me back to this game, and people that listen to the show and watch on YouTube are like, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And I did. I kept at it, and I got it going now, and I'm enjoying it, so that's a good thing. But there's other ones I went back to a few times. It's just like, nope, just no, put it back in the box and put it back in the folder, slide it down the bottom, and we won't be going back to that for a long time. So we want to know from the audience there, your first impression is in a game. Have you had situations where you've had a bad first impression, but then stuck with it, and the game turned out well? Did you, by chance, have a really good first impression of a game? Did you have a game that played well, you got the result you wanted, you had a lot of fun, and then somehow it stopped being fun for one reason or another? You know, the first impression maybe wasn't the correct impression. Maybe something happened during that first impression that you thought it was going to be awesome, and then when you finally get into it, it wasn't. So we want to know, do first impressions, is that what does that do for your game, for your gaming experience with a particular game? Your first impression. Let's talk about that. So again, ways to get a hold of us: digitaltodice.com. You can comment over on our Spreaker page on the individual episodes. Over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. That's probably the best way to go and comment on the shows and get your voice heard. And then lastly, we have the text line 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423. You can comment there. Again, text if you have any questions that we can try to help you with. And we can go there too. So what do you think? Want to wrap this up?
Absolutely.
All right. So this has been episode 63 of the Digital to Dice podcast. We talked about first impressions or love at first sight. So we want to know your first impressions, your love at first sight. Don't necessarily need to know the game per se, but we'd like to know, how did it work out with you, so the whole bit. Ron, any final words for you go get lunch?
Oh, I had lunch. It was wonderful. It wasn't pineapple pizza, I'll tell you that.
All right. We'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.